Part 3 3D. You had Amityville 3D.
Yeah.
And, of course, you had Jaws 3D. But anyway, this film, it takes place at like a SeaWorld type of deal, like in a park where the shark gets into the gate and gets into the park area.
Yeah. And
this one pretty unique because it has some familiar faces. This is one of Dennis Quaid's early films.
Yeah, like a very, very young Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, very young Dennis Quaid. It also has Louis Gossett Jr. in it. You might know him from movies like Iron Eagle and stuff like that. But, basically, the shark gets in and causes a bunch of chaos, and the park has to be shut down, but it's in a state of emergency because people are still in the park. Some people get trapped underneath. They're running around like they're like chickens with their heads cut off. What can we do? How can we, get this under control? And it's kind of like all over the place. And
it really is. It's very sporadic.
Yeah. And you have, you have the brothers who are actually playing the Brody brothers.
Right. Dennis
Quaid being the older, and the younger brother comes in, and it even has, I want to say her name is Leah Thompson from Back to the Future.
Yeah, Marty's mom.
Yeah, Marty's mom from Back to the Future. She's very young in this film as well. She's, I'd say, no more than 20, 21,
yeah, this
22.
was before Back to the Future.
Yeah, this was like 83. Back to the Future was 85. So this was a whole 2 years before she would gain mainstream success, like true mainstream success.
Superstardom.
And, if this was the 90s, Jaws 3D and maybe not Jaws 4. Jaws 4 might have went to theaters because it had Michael Caine in it, and he's a big, serious actor.
Yeah, that's true.
But Jaws 3 would be one of those films that would go straight to, like, VHS.
Yeah.
But, since, like I said, the 3D thing was popular, so...
They were trying to capitalize off of it.
Yeah, and some scenes are very, very obvious.
Oh, yeah.
Like things are floating.
The arm.
Yeah. It's not quite as bad as the horrible CGI that you see today in these horrible shark and octopus movies that you see on like the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff. It's not that quality bad because most of the times when you see this stuff, it's only for like a split second to just get the effect. Yeah. When it actually comes to the shark, though, they at least make it look like it's a legitimate shark. You know?
It didn't look that bad. I found my problem with 3 is it gets kind of a little like tedious. Like the movie kind of starts dragging at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but
it's one of those things where it's kind of like there's a shark problem. People know there's a shark problem, but then you got scenes of other characters that probably should be the first ones to know there's a shark problem that don't know that there's a shark problem.
Yeah.
I think one of the most impressive scenes in the whole movie is when they're out and they're skiing.
And skiing.
And they do the whole, they're like practicing.
Yeah, they're doing their routine and stuff.
And you see that one girl turn around and she's doing her thing, but she sees the fin and it freaks her out and the whole pyramid just falls.
Yeah.
And they're all rushing. I think that could have been a pretty good scene to where you could have got some victims.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that the whole 3D aspect in this film was it it was more like, let's play it safe than take a chance, because that was a perfect opportunity to get a bunch of victims right there.
Yeah.
You know, to really establish that this shark is fucking mean and he means business.
See, that's my problem with part 3, is it's a lot of missed opportunities with this movie. Like you just pointed out, it's several other like scenes just like that in the movie where you wish like you would have gotten something. You know, like you don't really see like a lot of blood and stuff in the previous 2 Jaws movies.
Right.
And this one, I feel like could have benefited a lot by going over the top with gore.
Yeah. They could have done a lot more with what they, you know, like I said, they brought in the 3D, and it was kind of like they had a limited budget on what they could use the 3D for, and I think they misjudged a lot of things. You know, and it was less about the kills and more about random shots of things being in 3D.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's still an enjoyable film. It's just like you said, it has its problems, and we can sit here and nitpick it all day. But overall, it's the third entry. It is what it is.
Yep.
Now we get to Jaws 2.
The Electric Boogaloo.
This is Roy Snyder came back for this film,
Yes.
and he still plays Sheriff Brody. Except this time, there's another shark incident, and a camera is recovered, and it's kind of blurry, kind of not, you can't really make it out. But then, like, a whale washes up on the beach and has a huge fucking bite in it.
Right.
And Brody is like, oh, fuck, here we go again.
Yeah.
And he gets the council members or the town people together, and he's like, look at this picture. And they're like, what is it? Seaweed? We don't know what it is. And he's like, God damn it, look at the eye, look at the mouth. That's a fucking shark right there.
Yeah.
And they're like, we just don't see it. And he's like, look, I know what a shark looks like. I've seen one up fucking close.
Yeah.
And you better do something about this one, because I don't intend to go through that fucking hell again.
Yeah.
And they shit can him. They fire him. He's
pretty much become the town crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those, And then the deputy becomes the new sheriff, and, he just kind of accepts it. But at the same time, the storyline is, he's got the teenage son, Michael, and he's supposed to be grounded, or he's supposed to be, whatever, and he decides to go out with his friends and take his little brother, Sean, along with him, because if he didn't, Sean was going to tell on him. And they decide to go sailing, And I guess if you don't grow up in kind of like a beach town, you really don't get the sailing culture. Just like if you grew up in like Colorado or something, you don't get the ski culture. You're like, well, how the fuck does people ski? Like, I've never skied a day in my life. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Right.
But this is a thing, just like if you grew up in a sea town is what I would call it, or a beach town, or, something like that. Sailing was almost like we come from the country. We come from the South. Our thing down here is, hunting and fishing. So going sailing is kind of like hunting and fishing,
I guess. Or like mudding.
Yeah, it's kind of like the thing that you do if you grow up in a beach town.
Right. We don't do that shit, but we know how it is.
Right.
It's just what people do around here.
New England and Maine and all those places like that. Anyway, they go out, and Brody knows it's a shark problem. And then he realizes, holy shit, Sean and Michael's out there. And he just has this gut fucking feeling that something's wrong. So, he goes out there. And, of course, these kids are terrorized by the shark. Yeah. They're flipping over boats. It's pretty bad. But then the movie is wonderful up until this point. It's a perfect sequel, in my opinion, up until this point. And we get that great scene. It might be a little unrealistic, but it was a good goddamn movie scene where the shark is coming at Brody. But this time he don't have no gun. This time he don't have no fucking oxygen tank to blow him up.
Right.
So what does he got? He's got a power line.
Yep.
And the shark bites into that motherfucker. And in my opinion, one of the coolest looking fucking special effects ever. The shark gets electrocuted, set on fire, and finally, A
lot of people hate that scene.
Well, I don't. I love this scene. There's a lot of good scenes in this movie. The guy and the girl that go out boating, and the guy gets attacked, and you never really see the shark in this scene, but you see the guy just going as fast as he can in the water, and he finally just boom hits the boat, and he's trying to come up, but he can't. Mm-hmm. God, that's a good scene. And
it is a great scene.
And later on, they find the girl, like, in a little corner in the boat. She's in shock, Yeah. And they get her. And then, before that, you had some other great scenes. You had the girl going skiing, and then, the woman driving the boat looks back, and obviously the shark had gotten the girl.
Her, yeah.
And then you see the shark come out of the water, and the fucking boat driver, tries to, pour gasoline on it and shoot it with the flare gun, but it ends up blowing the whole goddamn boat up.
Yeah.
That's one of the best scenes ever.
That's what I was going to say, between the ending scene and that one where they try to get him with the gas and everything like that.
To me, Jaws 2 is one of those films where it's not as good as the first film.
No.
But it's very underrated by the standards, in my opinion.
Right.
It's a very enjoyable fucking sequel. And I really
Texas
enjoy
Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Right.
It falls on the same guidelines. Is it anything like the first one? No. But it's fucking enjoyable.
Some people say, Jaws 2 does everything that Jaws 1 does, except they don't do it good.
Right.
And I say, fuck you.
Yes.
No, listen, if you don't enjoy it, that's fine. You have your opinion, you weird-ass motherfucker, but okay. Anyway, we come to the granddaddy of them all, the biggest summer blockbuster,
blunder,
the biggest blockbuster, summer blockbuster. This movie coined the phrase summer blockbuster.
Yes.
Before this movie, there was no such thing as a summer blockbuster.
Right.
After this movie came out, everybody targeted. Oh, my movie has to be released June or July, August. Yeah. One of those 2 months. July 4th weekend. That's what we need. That's what we need. And the thing about it is, the thing that made Jaws work is that people assume that the world has known about sharks for a long, long time and know everything there is to know about them. In 1975, that was not the case. We didn't have Discovery Channel back then. We didn't have people telling us, all different